Alright, so you know how to play your chords and your chord progression, but you feel bored and you really wish you could make your chord progression go from this to this. Well, if this is you, all you need to learn is how to add passing chord to your playing. So in today's video, I'll show you 10 different simple passing chord ideas that you can use to transform a chord progression. This video is going to be divided into 3 parts. So we're going to be talking about moving chords, then we have the secondary dominant chords, and part 3 is going to be about the chromatic passing chords. And if you'd like to have a PDF version of all these different ideas, make sure you grab it for free in the description just below. Alright, so let's dive into part 1. We're going to be talking about moving chords. And what I mean is that these passing chords are usually used to create harmonic movement on one chord. So the first one we're going to have is going from the 1st degree to the 2nd degree minor over the 1 degree. So in C major, we could go from C and using the D minor because these are diatonic chords. So we're going to be using this on the C major scale here. So we go from C to D minor. So you can use the 2nd degree minor over the 1st degree like this. So let's show an example here. So it's very useful if you want to be moving a little bit more on one chord because you're playing the same chord over and over. And now for the second one in that category, we're going to be using the 4 over the 1. So instead of going with the 2nd here, we're going to go all the way to the 4th degree of C major. That's going to give us F major, and this is what we're going to be using actually over the 1 chord here. So if I show an example here, this is something very useful. We hear that one so much in blues and rock music. Now for the next one, we're going to be using the 4 minor over the 1 instead of the 4 majors. So we have F major right here, but this time we're going to use F minor. It adds a beautiful resolution between the A flat going to the G right here. So a beautiful passing chord that you can use. Alright, for number 4, this one is very useful if you want to be playing something on the 5th chord of a chord progression. So this one is actually using the flat 7 over the 5. So in our case here, the 5th degree of C major of our chord progression is going to be G right here. So if I use G, the flat 7 of G in the scale of G major is actually F. So what we're going to be using is F major right here. So we want to be using the F major chord over the G when we're on the 5th degree here, on the dominant 7. So let me show you an example here. So we have, so it adds this dominant sound because the F is actually adding that note, but we're also adding the 9 and the 11 or the 4, depending how you want to see it, in the chords. And that's really cool to use. So I'm going to show you if I play the whole chord progression, the 1, 6, 4, 5, and you're going to see how it sounds like. So we have the 1, 6, 4, and the 5. So you hear this, and it creates a beautiful movement that you can add for dominant 7 chord. Now, just as a reminder, if you'd like to have the PDF version to remember all these different passing chord ideas, you can get it for free down below in the description. All right, let's dive into part 2, and it's all about the secondary dominant. So this type of passing chord is about approaching the target chord, the upcoming chord in a chord progression, with his 5/7 chord. So for example, if we take our chord progression, the 1-6-4-5 to keep it simple, we have to go from C to A minor. All right, so from the 1 to the 6 minor. So the 6 minor is our target chord. This is where we're going. So what we want to be doing is adding the dominant 7 of the A minor. And that's going to give us E7, just like this. So if I add the E7 before we play the A minor, it gives us something like that. So we have C major going to E7 and A minor. How cool is that? And it works for pretty much any chord. So let's keep going. If we want to go from A to the 4, so 4, the F major is the target chord. So we can add the 5th 7, which is C dominant 7 in the middle of the two. So C, E7, A minor. Now we add C7 going to F, just like this. And we do the same thing before going to G, which is the next chord. We can add D7 going to G, like that. So that's so cool because you can actually add some chords that are going to feel great and sounds amazing in a chord progression. So if I do all 4, it goes like this. So C, back to C like that. So this is the first secondary dominant chord. So now for the next one, I want to add something cool to what we just talked in the previous passing chord. So we're going to keep using the secondary dominant passing chord, but this time we're going to move around with what we're doing on the left hand. So it's going to create so many other cool ideas. So for this one, we're actually going to use the 5th of the secondary dominant chord on the bass to create a beautiful bass line. So if I go from C major, and then we said E7, but this time, instead of playing the root note, I'm actually going to be playing the 5th of E7, like that, going down to A minor. So what's happening here is that you have C, B, A, and that's a beautiful bass line, creating a melody going down on the left hand. It's very cool to add. So let's do the whole chord progression just like that. So if I keep moving around with the bass note, we can have something like, all right, so C going to E, A minor, F, like that. How cool is that? So it adds so much because now you're creating a bass line with the chords. All right, now for the last secondary dominant passing chord idea here, instead of playing the 5th on the bass line, we're actually going to be playing the 3rd. And this is going to create a chromatic approach on your left hand with the chords. So we go from C major, and for the E7, we can go with G sharp on the bass line, going to A minor. So it's approaching target chords with a half step. So that's pretty cool to add. So the 3rd right here going to A minor. Now let's do the same thing. So for the C7, we go to E to F. All right. And now for the D7, we're actually moving a half step higher and going to G. I love that. So one more time. So we have, there you go. So it changes everything. And those ideas are super simple when you start adding them. And now for part 3, we're going to talk about different ideas for chromatic passing chords. So these are when we approach the target chord with a half step lower or higher, just like in the previous one. So the first idea here is using a diminished chord a half step below any chords. So for example here, let's go back to C major and we want to go to A minor. So what we want to be doing is using the A flat diminished chord before going to the next chord right here. All right, so let's try this over the whole chord progression. So we have the C going to A flat diminish, going to A minor. Now E diminish, half step to F, F sharp diminish to G, just like this. So very cool. Now for idea number 9, we're actually going to be using a dominant chord a half step below the target chord. So let's go with the C. And now instead of playing the diminished chord like earlier, we're going to be playing a dominant 7 chord going to the next chord. So C, A flat, A minor. Very interesting sound right here. So the C, A flat 7, A minor, E7, F, F sharp 7, going to G right here. All right, and now for the last idea that you can do with chromatic chord, we can use the minor chord before the target chord we're playing. So this time we're gonna go from C, again from A flat minor, going to A minor right here. We can even add the 7 right here. And that's very cool because when we're playing minor chords, everything is moving a half step higher. So from this one, A flat minor to A minor, each note are moving a half step higher. Like that. Alright, so now I want to take a minute and go back to what I played at the beginning of this video and see how we can understand everything that was going on right now. So now that you know how it works for the passing chord, it's going to be much easier. So what I did is, I went from the C and D minor, C. So now we know this one is actually a moving chord using the minor 2 over the 1. So that's just adding some rhythm to it, so like that. This one is the secondary dominant using the 5th on the bottom right here and going to the A minor. We can add the 7 if you like to the A minor right here. So alright, for this one, secondary dominant before the F, so this is why I'm using the C7 right here because we're going on the F. But I added something here. So I'm moving twice the bass note. So I'm using the 5th, the 3rd, and then going to F. So what's cool right here is like I'm kind of creating a chromatic approach basically for the next chord. So C7 with G, C7 with E, and going to F. All right. This one is the 4 over the 1, so that is a moving chord. The diminished chord a half step lower than the target chord right here, so the F sharp diminish going to the G. And now for the G, I'm actually using the minor 2 over the 1, in this case over the 5 because it's a major chord, so it works great. And then I'm moving to the flat 7, like I mentioned earlier, over the 5 to go and play the F. And then I'm just going with this G7 and to play the 5th on the bottom to go back to the C. All right, so it's F, like that, back to the chord progression. Alright, so thank you so much for watching, and if you've learned anything valuable from this video, please subscribe to this channel and click the like button below. Alright, bye for now!